Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For the last 32 years, Kashmiri Pandits have pinned their hopes on successive governments for justice, for rehabilitation, and for returning back to their own houses, to their own motherland. They have had expectations from the people of this country to give strength to their voice and fight with them so we can, right now, actually give them the hope that a wrong from 3 decades can be corrected. Many of them today will tell you that they have been failed not just by politicians but also by the country, by the state. One such issue is that of the regularization of the Kashmiri Pandit teachers in the national capital. Chief Minister of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal, took credit for regularizing these jobs in Delhi when he spoke with me on the show, Frankly Speaking, just 2 days ago. Soon after, the BJP came out and presented some documents to disprove the Aam Aadmi Party's claims. Unfortunately, both the AAP and the BJP were presenting half-truths. Tonight on the NewsHour, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you proof of why I say that. A complete paper trail that goes on to show that neither side can adopt a holier-than-thou attitude in this particular case. And let's take a look at 3 letters that Times Now has accessed. This Delhi government's appeal against the High Court order, where it says in the High Court, the entire petition where it has said that the Delhi government has appealed against the High Court order, equal work, equal pay does not apply to them. Document number 2 talks about 2018, the center's SLP in the Apex Court, where the Supreme Court has dismissed the special leave petition on the grounds that 2 judgments, one single bench order in 2015, one double bench of the Delhi High Court's order in 2018, both allowing the fact that contractual Kashmiri migrant teachers can be changed to permanent and get the same parity of pay and allowances. And document number 3 shows Education Minister and Deputy Chief Minister Sisodia's order, where this letter actually says, withdraw the SC appeal, implement the High Court order, and the Aam Aadmi Party had suggested that. Yet, it did not happen. The question is, finger pointing going on every which way, but nobody really has the answers. Also, I want to show you the claim versus claim. One letter that came out from the Kashmiri Migrant Teachers Association yesterday, which gave the timeline of how the courts had to intervene to give justice to these migrant teachers, signed by Dilip Bhan. Today, the Aam Aadmi Party has come out with another letter, which is also written by a Teachers Association of the Migrant Kashmiri Teachers, and they have thanked Arvind Kejriwal for the steps that he's taken. The question here is, which letter is right, which is wrong? Is that letter that praises the BJP right, or is this letter praising the Kejriwal government and Mr. Kejriwal himself? Is that right? And both sides, there have been press conferences that have been held both by the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party. So the legitimate question I want to ask on the NewsHour tonight is just this. Are Kashmiri Hindus political pawns for all parties? That's the question and the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the NewsHour at 9, debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
Joining me tonight, Sushil Pandit, Kashmiri Pandit, with me in the studio, has been fighting for this cause. Activist, well-known advocate Kapil Madan, political analyst. Saurabh Bharadwaj, MLA and chief spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. And Dr. Sambit Patra, national spokesperson of the BJP. And Dr. Sambit Patra, it is to you first that I want to ask a question. Yesterday, a letter of Dilip Bhan, which came out representing the Kashmiri Migrant Teachers Association, and today you held a press conference on that, saying how the Aam Aadmi Party has been exposed. And then there was the Aam Aadmi Party press conference, where another letter and the fact that there were lawyers from the centre who represented the case of opposing the teachers of Kashmiri Migrants Association, who were opposed by people who are from your political party, also lawyers, additional solicitor general, also the question of the fact that this association says it is Mr. Kejriwal. And we've shown you the letter of Mr. Manish Sisodia, which wanted that no appeal should be going against the High Court judgment and no special leave petition to the Supreme Court. Yet, the centre went to the Supreme Court. I want to ask you, Dr. Sambit Patra, where does the truth lie in all of this? And are Kashmiri Hindus just a political football for the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party?
Navika, thank you. Good evening. Navika, there are two parts to this debate. The first part of the debate is a non-technical one. It has to do with the sensibilities of all of us. And the second part of it is a technical debate as to who is responsible for the delay in the regularization of the teachers from the migrant community. As far as the first part is concerned, the way Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, the Chief Minister of Delhi, in fact mocked the pain of the Kashmiri Hindus, mocked the gory massacre of the Kashmiri Hindus, the genocide in Kashmir, in fact, on the floor of the assembly, is something which we are all shocked about. And this whole debate revolves around this core agenda as to whether a chief minister can mock the death, the genocide of the Kashmiri Hindus, and can all this be called fake? Because Mr. Arvind Kejriwal called the whole Kashmiri file movie a fake, a jhooti picture, a fake scenario. So I condemn what Mr. Kejriwal had said, and in order to, put behind the wheel his insensitivity, Mr. Kejriwal has come up with another story that is about how he is the hero of regularizing the teachers. Now, as far as the regularization of the teachers is concerned, I have a document which in fact was produced by the Times of India. Only in the last debate, I was hearing Padmaja when she quoted one of the lawyers of the Aam Aadmi Party government, representing the Aam Aadmi Party's Delhi government in the Delhi High Court, Mr. Luthra. And this is what Mr. Luthra had to say in the Delhi High Court, the two-bench judge, and the division bench had Mr. Luthra represented by the Aam Aadmi Party, and he said thus. Mr. Luthra argued that not only was it clear from the very beginning that the migrant teachers were to be appointed on contractual basis, it was also evident that these teachers did not go through any selection process as such, and therefore could not claim parity with the teachers appointed on a regular basis who had gone through the requisite selection process. In fact, granting the migrant teachers parity with the teachers appointed on regular basis would be unfair to the latter, since they were appointed through a proper selection process, unquote. This is what the High Court division bench had to quote before it came up with its 2018 judgment in paragraph number 14, where it was quoting Mr. Luthra, the respondent's lawyer, that is the Delhi government's lawyer, number one. Number two, we have in the past also seen, Navika, that wherever there is some virtue which is to be attributed to the Aam Aadmi Party government, it's all because of the good deeds of Mr. Arvind Kejriwal. And whenever the same government of Delhi, in fact, Delhi NCT, there is a failure and Mr. Kejriwal has to answer for it, the onus is very cleverly shifted to the shoulders of the LG, and the LG becomes the pawn in this, because LG can hardly come to the television channel and defend himself. So you say that there was a letter by Mr. Sisodia where he wants to withdraw this representation in the court, the obstruction by the Delhi government in the court. My simple suggestion is why this letter did not exist way back in 2015. Since Mr. Kejriwal's government, Mr. Sishodia, had the power, in fact, to write such letter where they could suggest that the obstruction should be removed, which was written in 2018 only when the things came to a conclusion, or rather were coming to a conclusion. Why this letter could not be produced or written by Mr. Kejriwal right in the beginning of the whole thing, when in 2015 the case was going on. And I conclude by presenting one more important thing. Finally, the recruitment of the teachers took place in 23rd January 2019. This is the letter of recruitment when the recruitment was made. And you would see, para 3 of the recruitment letter, they categorically mention this is in compliance with the order dated 23/5/2018 of the Honorable High Court of Delhi in the matter of LPA 286/2015, GNCTD appellant versus GSTA, that is the migrants. So GNTD versus the migrants was the case. And I rest my case by saying that it's very easy to shift the onus to the LG. But remember, the one who was mocking the genocide was not the LG. The one who was laughing and mocking the genocide of the Kashmiri Hindus on the floor of the assembly in Delhi was Mr. Kejriwal.
Aam Aadmi Party is represented by their MLA, who's also a lawyer. So let me ask you, this is the judgment of 2018 that has been quoted by Dr. Sambit Patra, and on page 29 there is a line which says it is only in 2017 the final decision not to regularize the Kashmiri migrant teachers was taken, as it was felt that regularization would create a wrong precedent. It also says in another place that this entire issue would require the clearance from and this is a PTI copy which I can quote to you, where it clearly says that this entire matter was sent by the Delhi government additional standing counsel Santosh Kumar Tripathi, who said the copy of the communication to the UPSC was to be placed before the court on September 15, and they sent to the UPSC asking why this entire matter should not be objected to, and they say that they have obtained the LG's approval and want its concurrence. Now this is September 17, 2017 PTI copy that I am recounting here. Saurabh Bhardwaj, I want to ask you, if LG's approval was there and you were together in it, then why make a difference now? And if the LG was on board with you and you were on the same side, then why take the credit for regularizing the Kashmiri teachers? It was actually the courts that got the jobs to these Kashmiri teachers. Both can't be true. One of them has to be true. Explain to our viewers which is the fact and which is the credit war.
Okay. So I think you have to understand Delhi government in a perspective that every department of Delhi government, whether it is education department, whether it is food and supplies department, there are two sections to each department. One is the regular department and another is the services section of this department, which takes care of regularization, recruitment, disciplinary proceedings, suspension, termination of the employees, which is coming under LG because of an act which is passed by the in the parliament by the BJP central government. That's why all these aspects are taken care directly by the LG. Now this regularization thing, whenever it is coming in the court, especially the High Court, you can always see that there are two versions, distinctive versions, which are running parallel in the court, and the court in its orders, in its daily orders, has been quoting them. For example, if you look at the orders in 2017, they are quoting Delhi government saying that we are giving an undertaking that we want to help Kashmiri migrant teachers in regularization and we want to bring in a policy. This is there in the order. In the next day, there is an undertaking again by the elected government of Delhi that we have passed a policy in the cabinet of elected government that we are regularizing these Kashmiri migrant teachers as a special case because their case is very different from any other contractual appointment. Now we have presented file notings in our press conference. We have put it on Twitter. We have given it to your reporters who are available in the press conference, where we are showing the noting, a file noting which has been signed by none other than our LG Anil Bejal, where he is quoting that because central government doesn't have any provision of giving any kind of special treatment to Kashmiri migrants, that's why in Delhi government also we cannot give any special concession or treatment to these Kashmiri migrant teachers, and hence they cannot be regularized. And LG's lawyers started going against the opinion of the elected government. And my friend Sambit Patra, who was quoting Mr. Siddharth Luthra, advocate, is only misquoting us in a way that because Siddharth Luthra is basically representing the LG, he is not representing the central government. Mr. Siddharth Luthra has been always appearing against the elected
All
government.
right, Saurabh, I get your point. I get your point. I get your point. But I want to ask you, in the Supreme Court, who lost the case? LG?
In the Supreme Court.
LG or the Delhi government, the elected Delhi government? Who lost the case?
Yes. It is there in the file noting also that it is the LG and the service department who went to the Supreme Court in spite of the advice of Manish Sisodiya, and they challenged the regularization order by the High Court for the Kashmiri things, and it was represented by none other than Pinky Anandji.
All right. So LG lost the case. LG lost the case, and after that the regularization happened. So how did the regularization happen? Because of the court, not because of the Kejriwal government. Isn't that true?
Navika, no, because Kejriwal government passed a cabinet note in 2017. We created a policy for Kashmiri teachers as an exception, as a special case which should be considered, and that's how they were basically regularized. Otherwise, there are many orders in the Supreme Court that such contractual teachers cannot be regularized.
All right, rapid fire between Dr. Sambit Patra and Saurabh Bharadwaj. Sambit Patra is coming in.
See, in fact, anticipating that this would be the answer by the Aam Aadmi Party, in the beginning itself I had said that if this was the intention of the Aam Aadmi Party, that they really wanted to have a sympathetic look towards the Kashmiri migrants, the migrant teachers rather, so this view could have been reflected way back in 2015 in front of the single bench judge in High Court. But that was not what the reflection was. So right now also, Mr. Saurabh Bharadwaj categorically says that this change of heart occurred way back in 2017-18 juncture when we were moving towards a closer. And I mentioned this. I mentioned this at the outset itself. My question is, why this politics towards the end when they knew very well where the court was heading towards, and when they had already received 2 downbeats by the Delhi High Court? That's the reason as to why they had no other option but to showcase to the world that, well, yes, look, we are sympathetic towards the Kashmiri Pandits. Or else they would have taken this stand right in the very beginning, 2015
but
itself.
Dr. Patra,
Mr. Sisodiya would have sent this letter that the cabinet is of the opinion. The same can be
asked of you, Dr. Patra, कि आपने अपना दिल क्यों नहीं बदला? आपको भी तो पता था कि कोर्ट किस तरफ जा रहा है. आप अपना रुख बदल लेते, आप तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट चले गए.
No, Navika. As far as we are concerned, I see this as a Delhi government versus the Kashmiri migrants. And you had an interview, if I'm not wrong, with Dilip Bhan. Since we were talking about who Dilip Bhan is, and in fact there was a question raised by the Aam Aadmi Party as to whether there is someone called as Dilip Bhan who exists or not.
No,
I remember you had interviewed
We checked
Dilip
the
Bhan,
records of the Kashmiri Migrant Teachers Association. His name is there on the website.
Yes, very true. His name is there in the website. So today's press conference by the Aam Aadmi Party, where they say that has anyone even seen Dilip Bhan? whether Dilip Bhan exists or not. So his story has come out to the world through the Times Now channel, one of the most important channels. And this is the Times of India story way before we conducted our press conference. This is the yesterday's story of Times of India, where the Times of India has given out the chronological order as to how the courts were moved by the Aam Aadmi Party government and what was the conclusion. So we draw our information, our source, from the documents of the court and also from the media. And remember, Navika, one of the most important questions which should be asked of the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson is why this insensitivity by the Aam Aadmi Party's Chief Minister, Mr. Kejriwal, on the floor of the Vidhan Sabha on the genocide of Kashmiri Pandits, because what these people are trying to very conveniently do is find an escape route, go into technicalities, throw everything into the head of the LG and then say, देखो, हमने तो सब कुछ अच्छा किया था जी, ये तो मोदी जी ने सब गड़बड़ कर दिया. You laughed the way you laughed at the genocide, the way you said that this is a falsified notion. None of this ever happened. And now going into technicalities, LG bada hai, Delhi government does not mean this. So remember one thing, as far as the Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, kadwa kadwa thu thu, meetha meetha gup gup. Everything that is meetha meetha is by Kejriwal. Everything that is kadwa kadwa is thu thu on the LG. So whatever is wrong is all LG is doing. Whatever is right is all Mr. Kejriwal is doing. They have to put this in the YouTube finally.
Response, You know the court cases. We can continue to go through each of these court orders which I hold in my hand. We can sit here all night, all day tomorrow and continue to discuss these court cases, or we can go through the comments that have also come. The comments, the laughter that Dr. Sambit Patra is talking about, and the fact that the Kashmir Files was called a jhooti film. I want you to respond to that.
Okay, I'll respond to everything. First thing, the association which was contesting this case in the High Court and in the Supreme Court is called Delhi Government Teachers Migrant Association. Dilip Bhan doesn't belong to this association. He is not an office bearer of this association. He is just one BJP-leaning teacher who basically colluded with BJP's national spokespersons and created a fabricated document in the name of association. It was a fabricated document because today the association office bearers came on record, gave bite to all the channels, saying that there is nobody with the name Dilip Bhan who exists in their association. They don't even know him. Secondly, the lawyer, the senior advocate who represented these migrant teachers in High Court, Division Bench and the Supreme Court, his name is Senior Advocate Rakesh Tikku. He came on record, gave bites to Times Now and many other channels, saying that the elected government of Arvind Kejriwal basically helped migrant teachers. They came up with the cabinet note to regularize them. Mr. Manish Sisodiya specifically wrote letter to LG saying that we should not challenge them. We should try to help these Kashmiri migrants. In spite of that, LG remained adamant and they hired none other than the head of their legal cell, Advocate Pinky Anand, to go against the regularization of these Kashmiri Pandits. So what I am showing is the hypocrisy of BJP, that they are shedding crocodile tears for these Kashmiri migrants, but on paper and in court, they are dead against these migrant teachers. They will go till Supreme Court against the interests of these migrant teachers. And on other side, there is Arvind Kejriwal, who is fighting for the cause of these Kashmiri migrants. And mind you, we never blew our trumpet way back in 2018, 19 or 2017, claiming that we are the messiahs of Kashmiri Pandits. It is the BJP who has always claimed to be the messiahs. However, this is what they do. The dirty tricks department of BJP basically does all these things to the Kashmiri migrants and then they become the messiahs. So I am very ashamed that they are not ready to apologize. I think BJP should apologize that they were against these Kashmiri migrants in the Supreme Court. They unnecessarily
Dr. Patra, respond. Dr. Patra, respond.
Navika, it's an irony. I mean, you have been showing in the middle window the laugh the shameless laugh of many of the Vidhayaks, many of the MLAs of the Aam Aadmi Party, and that too they were laughing on the gory murder, on the genocide of the Kashmiri Pandits, saying that all this is false. And yet it's the Bharatiya Janata Party which should apologize. And the Aam Aadmi Party has the audacity to say that they're the messiahs of the Kashmiri Pandits. Remember, if you have watched the Kashmiri Files, Mr. Anupam Kher in the movie, in fact, had a round of placards around him, holding a placard as well, and all the placards read just one thing: abrogate Article 370. Who was the one? Which government was the one which abrogated Article 370? Navika, this is a long debate. Who did what for the Kashmiri Pandits? For the God's sake. I mean, as far as the Aam Aadmi Party is saying that we are shedding crocodile tears. Saurav, you are a good person, but let me tell you, at least we are shedding tears. We are not mocking and laughing like you. Please, let's be sensitive. Girija Tikku is in fact an existential truth. It's not that she is a fake character. BK Ganju is a truth. It's not a jhuti picture. Remember, Justice Neelkant is a truth. It is not a falsified fact. It's not a falsified thing. This is not a false movie. This is something which has mirrored the sensitivities of millions of people after the last 32 years, you know. We all tried to keep it under the carpets for 32 years. Well, yes, you did not want to make the movie tax-free. Okay, it is your choice. But why mock at? Why mock at the Kashmiri Hindus? You could make n number of movies tax-free. Bhains Ki Aankh, etc., etc. All that became tax-free under Mr. Arvind Kejriwal. But mocking at Kashmiri Files and the Kashmiri people's pain and saying that, well, why don't you upload this in YouTube? Everyone will see it in YouTube. Why Mr. Arvind Kejriwal could have uploaded all his advertisement in the YouTube?
Who is more sensitive, who is insensitive is not a judgment that can be made by any political party. That will have to be made by Kashmiri Hindus themselves. And I have one of them in the studio with me today. Sushil Pandit, I want to ask you, both sides, there's a credit war. किसने क्या किया, कितना किया, कौन हंसा तो क्यों हंसा, कौन रोया तो क्या वो crocodile tears थे? Where do you stand on all of this? Where is the pain of the Kashmiri Hindus in all of this?
Navika, frankly, I was shocked to see Arvind Kejriwal mocking at our genocide last week. And when I'm sitting here, I'm truly shocked to hear that Pinky Anand was deployed right to go up to Supreme Court, I know that lady personally, to fight against 233 teachers who were kept hanging for a quarter of a century as contractual employees of a government. They gave their life to this job. And they're ordinary teachers raising families, holding on to their jobs on tenterhooks. And you fight them right up to Supreme Court, deploy ace lawyers. I'm shocked, really shocked. I don't know who to turn to for a friend. You know, our issue has been used for the last 3 decades, mercilessly. I want this question to be asked by those who have a conscience. I frankly, Saurabhji, I expected better from Arvind Kejriwal. I really expected better. And Dr. Patra, if this is true that Pinky Anand was deployed, she was an additional Solicitor General for several years. If she was deployed to fight these 233 hapless employees going right up to Supreme Court after a quarter of a century of working as contract teachers, it is deplorable. Somebody has to be totally heartless, soulless for doing this to them. I don't have to say anything else.
Well, it is true that Pinky Anand did represent. I have the papers right here. I can show them to you. And I want to ask you, apart from being an additional, letter is there on your screen, and who's representing the site is also available, and Pinky Anand's name is mentioned right there. I want to ask you, she also happens to be a member of the BJP legal cell, if I'm not wrong.
No, as I
She's the
said,
head of BJP.
I know her. She's a
the head
wonderful
of
lawyer
BJP.
and a great person. But today, this is the first time I heard that even she was fighting.
But she was fighting, and she's a party person. Dr. Patra needs to answer that.
No, in fact, a lawyer can fight in personal capacity as well. Remember one thing. See, we have gone into technicalities, and I have told time and again, see, if the Arvind Kejriwal government had the wherewithal, and today they take the credit that they are the ones who are responsible for the regularization of 233 Kashmiri Pandit teachers, why in 2015 they were the ones who were opposing? Why this change of heart did not take place in 2015, 16 or 17 for the matter of purpose? And remember, as far as putting the Kashmiri Pandit teachers, the migrant teachers, into the payroll of contractual service is concerned, it was late Sri Madan Lal Khurana who started this whole thing very sympathetically.
I agree.
Just to say that Bharatiya Janata Party does not look into this issue sympathetically is absolutely wrong. Yes, Mr. Sushil ji, you are absolutely right. We are grateful to Madan Lal Khurana. We are grateful to Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. Jahan hue Balidan Mukherjee, wo Kashmir hamara hai. I mean, we have consistent.
Why spoil the good work
yes,
done by them?
in fact, our intention and the consistency with which. Sushil ji, can I complete, please?
Please do.
Sushil ji, our fight against the injustice meted out against the Kashmiri Pandit is with good intention and is consistent. Right after independence, we have seen that we have stood with the injustice meted out in Jammu and Kashmir, and Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, in fact, is one of the torch bearers of this fight for India's integrity. And today also, when we talk about Kashmir files, proudly we say, why not? Why not watch the genocide? Why not know the fact? Let's, for God's sake, who was responsible for the recruitment? Who wants to take the credit? Please take the credit, but at least don't laugh, mock. At least be sensitive, because it is not just about few teachers. It is about humanity. It is about, I mean, just imagine to say that all this is false, because this is on record. Remember, this debate may not be on record, but when a chief minister speaks it on the floor of the assembly, it is on record for the history. When he says that all this is false, my question is Girija Tikku false? Is BK Ganju false? Is Justice Neelkant false? Can you laugh at these people who lost their lives?
Saurabh Bharadwaj.
We cannot.
Saurabh Bharadwaj, respond.
Their regularization, a technical issue, we should debate. But sensitivity is far more important.
I think I'm very satisfied to see that Mr. Sambit Patra is not able to answer any of my technical questions, and instead he's engaging in rhetoric. And it's the same rhetoric.
No, I'm able to answer. I have read out what Mr. Luthra said.
All four times, wherever he has got
Mr. Saurabh, I would not be able to answer.
He's speaking the same
if you shift all the onus to LG, if you say that LG is the villain, LG is the culprit, which you have been doing in almost all the cases, nothing can be done.
Let me just respond. Mr. Patra. Let me just respond. I wasn't disturbing you, so let me please speak.
Yes, sir.
Second thing is that, Mr. Patra, Dr. Patra said that why did it take for a government to 2 years to change their stance? So let me tell that in 2015, Aam Aadmi Party's government was formed. Obviously, there are thousands of cases in the court of law for various departments. It was in 2017 when I took Kashmiri migrant teachers to Manish Sisodia ji. He listened to them patiently and he understood the thing, and he said, yes, we are with you and we will regularize you. We gave the undertaking in the court in 2017 when they met us that we will bring the policy. We brought the policy. We informed the court that we have the policy. We want to regularize them. And the LG on the file did not agree. He said, no, we cannot go. We will challenge it. It is a matter of record. Secondly, the clips which you are playing on your channel, you can also see the leader of opposition, Mr. Ramveer Singh Sidhudi, the 7 BJP members which are on the screen, they are also laughing. So basically, it was not, nobody was laughing at the plight of Kashmiri Pandit. Everybody knows it. Sambit Patra also knows it, but he's just trying to create an emotional scene out of it so that they can get some political mileage from this. Basically, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal was saying that if Mr. Vivek Agnihotri is making 250 crores out of the plight of Kashmiri Pandit, these 250 crores should be donated for the welfare of Kashmiri Pandits. I want to ask Mr. Patra, what is the objection they have? Why should they not donate this 250 crores for the welfare of Kashmiri Pandits? If they want everyone to see this movie, why don't you release this movie on YouTube? Why don't you release this movie on Doordarshan so that everybody can
Saurabh
watch it?
Bharadwaj, don't go that route. Don't go that route. In which case, I think all industry in Delhi should not pay GST. They should all go and donate GST connections to the people of India themselves. Private enterprise
Navika,
should not
you are
exist.
selling the
You know,
misery.
you're shifting the onus. You're shifting the onus on
there is a
Vivek
difference.
Agnihotri के वो पैसे
There is a
कौन बना रहा है? नहीं
There is a
Saurabh
difference.
Bharadwaj,
Navika.
on that,
There is a difference.
you know, let's be very clear.
There is a difference.
There
You
cannot
are selling
be,
the
there
plight of
cannot
Kashmiri
be in a
Pandits. You are
free
selling
market
Navika.
economy
And
a
making
cap on profits. You don't want
You
to
are
give them
selling
tax-free
somebody's misery and
status.
making profits.
Absolutely fine.
call
It's your
yourself an
decision,
activist.
but you can't put a
Navika.
cap. People
what
will
I'm
make
saying
that
is-
choice whether they want to buy a cheaper ticket, more expensive ticket, whether they want to watch it or not watch it. Let's not go there. आपने नहीं देना
No.
था, आपने नहीं दिया, कोई बात
No,
नहीं.
Navika, what we are
पर
saying
अगर लोग देख रहे हैं,
somebody is
लोग
selling-
सराह रहे हैं फिल्म और उसके पैसे बन रहे हैं प्रोड्यूसर्स के और डायरेक्टर्स के और फिल्म वालों के, उस पे आपको ऑब्जेक्शन नहीं हो सकती.
नहीं,
कपिल
Navika,
मदान
एक सेंटेंस
Yes.
केजरीवाल जी ये सब फिल्म को झूठा कहे बिना भी कह सकते थे. You could have said all this without calling this film a jhoothi film. That is where it hurt the most. Saurabh
Let me
ji.
make my point.
That is where it
Navika,
hurt the most.
What
Navika
I'm
ji, allow me
saying
to make
is,
my point.
आप एक कम्युनिटी के पेन को बेच के पैसा कमा रहे हैं. आप अपने आप को एक्टिविस्ट बोलते हैं, आप उस कम्युनिटी का मसीहा अपने आप को बोलते हैं,
नाविका।
तो आप उस पैसे को
नहीं तो वो
नहीं, आप
बेच
उसको
के
झूठी
कमा
फिल्म
रहे
बोल रहे
हैं,
हैं।
आप हंस के ग्रेट बन रहे हो, आप कह रहे हो कि
नहीं, हम तो
वो
great नहीं बन
प्रॉफिट
रहे। हमें तो बहुत
ना
criticize किया जा रहा
बनाए,
है।
वो प्रॉफिट
हमें तो
डोनेट
criticize
कर दे,
किया जा रहा
यू नो
क्यों क्या दिक्कत है उसको
आपने
donate
उसको
करने में?
झूठा कह दिया, आपने कौन सी
क्यों नहीं?
सेंसिटिविटी दिखा दी
नहीं, तो
थी.
आपने तो हमें
सौरभ
खुद criticize कर दिया
सौरभ
ना।
जी इस बात को अगर आप ना कंटेस्ट करें तो बेटर होगा, बिकॉज
नहीं,
एक
क्यों ना
बार
करें, नाविका जी?
इनसेंसिटिविटी अगर हो गई, अनदेखे से हो गई,
नहीं।
तो दोबारा इनसेंसिटिविटी ना दिखाएं, ये बेहतर होगा. मेरे भाई मेरे साथ बैठे हुए हैं, जो फ्लैशबैक आता है, जिनको इस दौर का फ्लैशबैक आता है, कम से कम दोबारा ना दोहराएं, यही सेंसिटिविटी होगी. मैं आई रिक्वेस्ट यू टू लीव इट एट दैट. इट्स नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट. समटाइम्स इट्स जस्ट ऑल राइट टू से यार नहीं करना चाहिए था, कर दिया, गलती हो गई, नेवर माइंड, लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड. कपिल मदान, one line, because I'm really short of time and I'm sorry I couldn't give you time,
No problem,
because
Navika ji.
everybody was emotional.
Navika ji,
Kapil
Navika ji,
Madan, I only want to ask you, is this only about credit wars?
So let me respond, Navika ji. Everyone has seen the order, read the order, but everyone has apparently missed a very important observation from the order, which is recorded in para 33. And allow me to just quote a very few lines there. In para 33, there is a reference to the notification dated 6th of June 2016, and there is a sub point 186, and I am just quoting quickly from that. It says further, it will open a Pandora's box if such regularization of contractual employee working in various department agencies, government of NCT or Delhi, will also demand the same relief. Moreover, several numbers of other contractual teachers and teachers engaged on ad hoc and daily basis are working in the department besides other organizations under the GNCD. Now, on this context, they decided to file an LPA and challenge this decision. Now, I will make a very important point here. You may recall when 2020 riots happened, it was the LG who was appointed the lawyers. And in fact, it is a matter of fact that the Aam Aadmi Party was contesting because they wanted to appoint their own lawyers for the prosecution.
Well, let's leave it at that. The fact is, whether the LG was wrong, whether the Delhi government was wrong, the fact is that the courts finally cleared these appointments, number one. And number two, credit wars are taking place when it should be actually sensitivity checks that should happen. And that's where we leave this debate, because 32 years is a long time. And after 32 years, if a film has been made which has created some sort of a reawakening of our souls, let's leave it at that. Whether it was lies, whether it was correct, incorrect, who did what, who's failed them, is not a discussion for today. The discussion for today is who and when will our brothers and sisters get justice? That's the question that all of us here should be worried about and come together for. The rest is irrelevant to those who have experienced this pain this close to their heart. Well, we leave it at that. Thank you. Prime Minister Narendra Modi